Good evening, and welcome to another paranoid episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And here is your host, the stark, raving mad voice of Doom. Thank you, Mr. Announcer. And it sounds like you're kind of going back to your old sarcastic ways. And maybe I am stark raving mad. I feel like I should be institutionalized because I'm seeing things that I guess the rest of the world doesn't see. And it worries me because I don't know what I'm going to be liable to do when I see chaos, anarchy, mayhem, cataclysms, catastrophe, and all around madness everywhere. And people seem to be going about their business. So I think it's me. I'm paranoid, obviously. But this episode is going to be more of the same. I'm going to kind of change my not style. I'm going to change the format into more of something more homogeneous or something more consistent. Because I've told you my life story more or less. And I've given you the history of religion as I understand it. And I've given you the reason why politics is the way it is. And I've tried to navigate through the sea of cheese that is the Petri dish administration and everything he's done, which is leading us up to the apocalypse. So what I want to do is I want to talk about little things that happened and then tie it in with the bigger picture of how we can solve it through various spiritual pursuits, which I've told you already, but I'll reiterate. So what did I forget from Petri dish? It's not really Petri dish. It's like what they've been talking about lately because there's no real apparent disasters right now happening right this minute in front of our eyes. So we can concentrate more on what's already been going on. So people have been talking about inflation and they have a sense of urgency with it, and I don't have the heart to tell them that it hasn't even started yet because they're all horsing around with how long do you think it's going to last? And I think hyperinflation, there is certain hyperinflation. They're having a cow over bacon being 25% up, but like steel is 400% up from last year. And a lot of things are in the triple digit percentages up. And that, steel, lumber, building materials, what have you, supply chain being broken. So it's going to be hyperinflation along with massive shortages because there's going to be more money than ever in the system. But inflation is nothing new, and I remember it from the 70s, and it was, I didn't even think of why it happened. I was a teenager. I knew the words, and I knew what they meant on paper when I went to the store and went, this is way more expensive than it used to be, but we had moved to Hawaii, and everything's more expensive there anyway. But what happened was I think that there was an embargo by OPEC as far as their petroleum products go. And whether it was true or whether it was made up, there's been conspiracy theories that it never had to happen or that it never happened. But at any rate, there was a supposed gas shortage. Now, we don't know how much gas is in the tanks below the driveway. We only know what they tell us, and they told us there was a shortage, and then there's suddenly gas lines. And I mean gas lines. And we had rules, and you could take your card on Wednesday, every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you had the odd, and you could go Tuesday, Thursday, whatever, Saturday. And closed on Sunday, if you were even. So you had to have the right license plate. And people, they sold a lot of siphons back in those days because we had to siphon gas from one car to the other, depending on what our schedule was. You never know what was going to happen and how much gas you actually had, whether you wanted to go stand in line or sit in line or roll in line. I don't know what you talk about cars in line to come up with a word for that. Um, idle line, idle line. I was learning to drive at that time, so it was perfect. My dad said, "Oh, you want to learn to drive? Go take the car down to the gas station and idle line for the next 2 hours, and that'll teach you how to drive real well." So that was enjoyable. I really enjoyed my first few months of learning to drive. What else did Petri Dish freaking babble about? Job creation. I don't know if he said it, but I wanted to talk about job creation because it occurred to me that if he creates more jobs, he can mandate more things involved with those jobs. So obviously, since Petri Dish created 500,000 jobs last month, then those jobs should be beholden to his dictates. And so he doesn't have to worry about OSHA or anything. He can just say, "I got you the job, so you're going to do this, and you better do it or you're not going to get the job." So it's good that Petri Dish is creating jobs. That way he can mandate people to do what he wants them to do. And I'm still a little bit concerned with this hoarding business in China. They're starting to panic and they're starting to go at each other's throats, and that's happening without us even paying any attention. And I really think we should think about it. Why are they hoarding? Why are they dressed in bodysuits? Why are they acting panicky like a pandemic is still raging through Asia? And that's a good question. I'd like to ask why. And the confusion that Petri Dish exhibits for us and says that we have to really support his infrastructure bill because things are very confusing right now and we don't know whether we should wear masks or not. He's talking about how confusing it is whether we should do this or do that. And it's like, well, you're supposed to be telling us the clear-cut way that we're supposed to be acting, like wearing masks inside, outside, if you've been vaccinated, if you haven't been vaccinated. And, I still worry about that. And I worry about perception of, once the narrative has been dispersed by the common propagandists, the globalites, you could say. It's done. You can't change the perception. Never. You can't change it. I don't care. The previous president, the last president, and I mean last, was a Russian operative, and everything, the information was all true, and they had to act on that information, and it doesn't matter if that's all been debunked and it's a fraud and the people are being arrested. The original narrative is true. Anything that happens now is just made up nonsense. Because Hillary Clinton is a fine candidate, a very strong female candidate who was for children and family. And I hate it when they're for the children because Schicklgruber was into the children and Mao Zedong was into the children and Pol Pot was into the children. It's always about the children. Every time they talk children, that's when I get my antenna buzzing. And when people realize it and they go down to the school board and they say, "Wait a minute, you're doing something with our kids." And they were, and they are, and they have been forever. Nothing new. So I want to apologize because I told you everything's my fault, and it is my fault. The pandemic's my fault. Red Orangey is my fault. Him getting elected, him acting like an ass is my fault. Petri Dish's election is my fault, and the border situation is my fault. The confusion over mandates of vaccines is my fault, and so is the Afghanistan fiasco. Everything's my fault. In my universe, like I've explained to you. In my universe, which I'm the center of, my universe, I'm the only one that's with myself forever. I mean, with myself all the time. So I am the center of the universe that surrounds me. Life and all phenomena is interrelated. There's a relationship between life and all phenomena. The phenomena I created in my universe, just like you did for yours. And all of our conditions may be similar. You created a pandemic, and you created a border crisis, and you created all this other stuff. You created the barges in your universe. And there's different perceptions because even though it is the same, it's different from our different perceptions. And it seems to get simpler as I think about it. So I'm sorry that I caused all that. And the only way I can help to alleviate this mess is do the only thing I can do, which is human revolution, which is what I was telling you about in the last episode. The great revolution of a single individual can effect a change and the destiny of a nation, and in turn can affect the destiny of the world, all humankind. So one person can make a lot of difference, and it goes the other way around. One person can make a big hell of a lot of difference, named Schicklgruber, who really did us some harm. Now, one person. What do I have to do human revolution? I got to overcome my weaknesses, and now I got to start and really like put it on the line because I do bad things and I'm a bad influence on others. And if I'm going to show others a better way to live, I got to do it. And it's hard. It's not giving up celery. It's going to be giving up things I enjoy doing and that relax me. And I'm going to have to get substitutes. I realize, hey, I'm not into being inebriated. I just like drinking anything. Coffee, juice, sparkling water, anything over ice. Doesn't have to have alcohol. I enjoy having oral fixation. So why don't you just work on changing from having alcohol all the time to just drinking all the time, like V8, Bloody Mary mix. And I found that you can do that and you can kind of get a little bit tipsy on Bloody Mary mix. It's kind of weird because your brain associates the flavor. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to work on my volition. I want to get more done. I realized that a lot of those things I went through in 2020 and 21 taught me a lot. And one of those things is you can get a hell of a lot done in a day. You just would not believe how much if you have to. A year ago right now, I was waking up dreading that I had to even open my eyes, and I was lucky to open my eyes on my own and not be screeched out of bed by an intercom. And get up and check on my wife, and then go get ice, and then go get a little something to eat, and get water, and get medications, and prepare for the day, and do all that, and then maybe cook a good breakfast, and then, go on with the day, go to the store, do some paperwork, call somebody at some function, the hospital, the nurse. We need more of this, we need more of that. And it was all day long. I had a list and I got a lot done. So all I have to do is keep doing that. And I can get over my lazy nature because once you make the list, all you do is go, well, I could go sit down and do a crossword puzzle and look at YouTube, or I could just do a few of these things and you get them done real fast once you start. Call this person and talk about this. You call them, you talk about it, you did it, you got it done. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to work on my human revolution because my kid is in bad shape too, and he's got to work on himself, and I have to show him. And I can't just say I practice Buddhism and I'm the same sloth that I was 35 years ago. No, I've got to show that I can overcome things that I don't want to overcome. Getting high. Feeling a bit tipsy. Laying around and watching YouTube for hours. Wasting time. Gambling. That's another bad one. sitting at the machine, dumping money, winning once in a while, but mostly dumping money. And the highs and lows that go with that. So I'm going to work on that, and that's how I'm going to do my part. Now, everybody has to do the same thing, and this planet will improve, very much so. And we don't have much time, so I'm giving you fair warning. Everybody work on this human revolution. I think I could have said things better. But you have to get your subjective wisdom fused with the objective reality, which is the mystic law of cause and effect. And I don't want to give too much away because people have to realize it. They can't be taught it because then they won't believe it. But you'll realize it, and I don't want things to get as bad as they're going to get, but if it has to, it has to. And the sooner the better, so we can move on to the first turning. And generational theory, I'll leave it at that. It's a good philosophy. There's a lot of good philosophies, and I'm going to work on myself because I think it'll help. So I'll leave it at that. Human Revolution Part 2, and that's that. Good evening.